Hello, Matt. You are up next.
Hey, Bart.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Where you played out of?
This is out of Mohegan Sun.
Mohegan Sun, a casino I can never spell, and I have also never played at.
It's a nice property.
Yeah, I hear the action's better now than Foxwoods too. People tell me.
Yeah, most of the regs would, I think, agree with you.
And what is the game size here?
This is 2.5 or
Okay.
about 2,100 effective, maybe a little bit more.
Oh, nice. Is there a cap in this game?
1,000.
Okay, so you're having a nice little session.
Yeah, actually, I mean, one of the things that will factor into this hand is that I had been enjoying adult beverages, and
As we sometimes do.
yes, and a guy at the table remarked, he said that I was involved in every big pot.
Okay, so you might have a drunken image slightly.
Loose aggressive.
Okay, loose aggressive. Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't, I wasn't really out of line. It just kind of happened that way.
Okay.
So I am in the low jack and I open to 15
Okay.
and I get called by the button and the big blind.
What do you have?
I have seven of diamonds, seven of
Seven
clubs.
of diamonds, seven of clubs, low jack to 15, button and big blind call. Is that the standard open? Just like a little dinky dunk 3x here in this game?
Yeah, I would say majority of folks probably open to 15. Some people do 20. I tend to do whatever the table is doing, and I think at this table it was pretty mixed, but I'd say the majority was $15 opens.
Yeah, I see that. I'm in my daytime Encore 2-5 game in Boston. I see a lot of $15 opens. All right, so 45 to the flop, three ways, and you with pocket sevens as the preflop raiser, okay?
Yep. Flop is the nine of spades, the seven of spades, and the five of hearts.
Not a bad. Well, I mean, it's always good to flop like a set, right? When you raise with a pair, obviously there's a straight out there, and the board is fairly textured here. You unblock top pair, which is nice. And this is just one of these ones where, especially at 2-5, as people look more and more at theory, I think even in recreational players, there are boards where you're supposed to be doing a lot of checking no matter what you hold. And I'm not necessarily saying this is always one of them. I mean, usually balanced, you're going to have, some draw bluffs and some sort of thick value hands as well. But usually button and big blind, kind of have like somewhat of a nut advantage, especially the earlier position that you raise. But I mean, I'm still even betting over pairs. I mean, I take a fairly robust sort of bet fold strategy at 2-5.
Yeah. So what I was thinking was, given this texture and configuration, this is a board that generally hits the calling ranges of the button and the big blind, and it just so happens that I hit it pretty hard. So I ended up betting big blind checked, and then I bet 50. I bet pot.
So big blind checks and hero bets 50. The other just very, very subtle thing here too is sometimes you can check raise boards like that. I mean, sometimes you can check raise boards with things like middle set, maybe not necessarily on this particular board. The reason why I bring that up is it's better to do that when there's two people left to act. You're kind of squeezed in the middle here. There's no guarantee a bet's going to come through. And I like to get my value early. So you actually bet 50, which is an over bet, but again, kind of a small stakes, one of the small stakes exploits on Crush Light Poker talks about how like the smaller the pot, it's more about the fact that the pot is small here. People don't look at this as like you're betting 500 into 450 or 5,000 into 4,500. I mean, it's 50 into 45, even though it's slightly over 100%. So you go 50, okay?
I was confident I was getting it called 100% by any sort of 8-9, 8-10, 10-9, middling kind of hand like that. So I was getting value with betting 50.
Well, I think you're going to get called by any pair, at least if you get it
Yeah.
towards heads up. Okay, so let's go 50.
Button calls,
Okay.
blind calls.
Both call.
Correct.
Okay. Obviously, you're aware of front door spades. We've got some interior straightening things going on here. 8-10, 6-8 already flopped it, but you don't want to see a 6 and 8 probably or a spade. Okay.
Yep. Turn is the 10 of clubs.
10 of clubs. So that brings in Jack 8 because 6-8 was already out there. Might bring in like a two pair, in the form of like a 10-9. Jack 10 is a gut shot here that might pair up. I mean, if you don't get raised on the flop, it's not like a 6 or an 8, right? So it's just interesting again to, you think about how to play balanced. What would you do here with an overpair? Would you start to slow down? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I think with one pair, if I was sitting there with like queens, I may check call, just given there's two opponents I called the flop when I bet pot. I think I would.
Well, you're in the middle, so it's not always going to get bet. Okay, so 10 of clubs, 9 of spades, 7 of spades, 5 of hearts, hero bets 50, gets called in both spots, 195 with the turn, 10 of clubs, hero with set of sevens, okay.
Yep. Big blind checks. I bet 110.
So hero bets 110. So that is kind of...
For your thoughts on sizing.
Yeah, I think I would tend to just size more here.
Yeah.
For value. You bet 50.
For the same reason as betting more for value on the flop.
Unless you're trying to get attacked here somehow. Like you're trying to make it look sort of weak, like you're scared, but it didn't sound like that. I probably would have gone at least 150, 175, and you could make definitely a case for an overbet, as some people are saying in the chat here as well.
I couldn't agree more. Upon reflection, this was my first mistake in the hand. In my analysis, right? If I was ahead on the flop and I'm getting value from, hands that picked up more equity on the turn, yeah, I should have gone larger.
And by the way, it's not a mistake if a lot of people look at this like the wrong way, especially sort of beginners. People are like, oh, I made a mistake. I only bet 110 and then the spade came in. Like I should have bet more. No, that's not the mistake. The mistake is not getting the most amount of value.
100%.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I want spades calling me.
Sure.
Right. Yeah,
sure.
I want the value.
Yep.
So the button calls 110.
Okay.
And then it gets back to the big blind, who sort of hems and haws for 30 seconds. And he mucks. Okay. But when he mucks, he kind of mutters, I can't believe I'm folding this.
Okay.
I don't know if the button heard him. I was in the 9 seat. Big blind was in the 6 seat. I think we were playing 8-handed at the moment, and the button was in the 3 seat. So I heard this, but I don't know if the button did.
Yeah, I don't know if what does that mean exactly? This could mean like somebody folding like Jack 10 here. You know what I mean?
I thought it was ace 9. So
okay.
In the moment, I'm sitting there and thinking, this guy, well, because he wasn't a serious poker player. And a nice guy, and we were chatting, but I got the sense that he was upset that he was downgraded from top pair and released when 2 people were still in the pot.
So 220 here on the turn. So now the pot is like 415. It looks like 415. I believe. Yep. So again, 9, 7, 5, 10 of clubs now here with pocket sevens. Okay.
And the river is the queen of spades.
So the river is the queen of spades, which brings in the front door, right? And the button has called your basically pot size bet on the flop, but we talked about how that, doesn't mean all that much, but he still has a guy behind him. But then he calls the turn with a guy behind him too on somewhat of a wet card. He always has to be, a little bit cognizant that the guy in the big blind could have something. And now the queen of spades here comes on the river, and I think that you've run out of value. Sometimes it sucks, like in, you check and a guy checks behind like 10-9 or God forbid, like a set of fives. Those types of things happen, but 9, 7, 5, 10 queen in the front door comes in. I think I'm going to be doing a lot of checking here.
My thought process in the moment was, maybe I can get some value from 9-10 or queen 9. But other than that, all the pair plus straight draw hands are folding. So
right.
I checked.
Okay, so hero checks.
And without any sort of bet pacing tell, just very normal, the guy bets 350.
So button bets 350. As I glance down at the chat really quick, Spam Stuff says check, and if he bets, then call. Here's the here's the thing. If you've been with me for a long time, you know that I am not a huge fan of check calling rivers. And especially I'm not check calling rivers with strong hands because I'm scared. There's 2 reasons to check call rivers, right? One, to pick off a bluff. And another one is to get a guy to value own himself, meaning value bet a worse hand that he would otherwise fold to a bet, which is very, very rare. So, Yeah, I think that you've just basically run out of a value here, but it's not like I'm going to check call because I have a set. It's going to be, can I find enough bluffs here for me to make this call? Or could the guy be value betting something that is worse than my hand, like queen nine, or if he had like 10-9, something like that. I mean, I do know people that are thin value bettors that will bet those types of hands. I mean, here's the thing, like somehow if I had queen nine, see, I wouldn't be in there with queen nine after your turn bet though, with a guy behind me. That shouldn't be in the hand. Once you bet turn and then there's another guy in, but like say for example, I was the button and I didn't have that other guy in the hand on the turn and I still called you with like queen nine, like I had queen nine of hearts or something like that, like on 9, 7, 5, 10. I still called. And now the river's a queen. Brings in the front door, and now you check. Well, you don't really have a flush here. I think queen nine is going to be the best hand. So there are scenarios where somebody might obviously value own themselves. But again, with hand reading, the fact that this guy called with the guy behind him on the turn, I mean, it kind of only leaves like a hand like 10-9 or 10-7 or something like that, for two pair. The pot is 765, and the bluffs, obviously, that he could be turning into a bluff, maybe like a hand like 9-8, some sort of pair plus 8, which is like open-ended on the turn, 7-8, 9-8, 10-8, where he just feels like it's too good of a card to bluff. But I'll go back to what you said like in the beginning, though, where you seem to have like a loose aggressive image, and you seem to maybe have had some adult beverages. And I think what ends up happening there is the adjustment that most people will make is they bluff you less because they feel like you're going to call down more, right? Do you agree with me?
100%.
Yeah.
You just said was my thought process in the moment.
So, I mean, I don't think, I mean, I don't know if it's a huge mistake to call with like a hand that's like that far up, in your range, like with sets, if you want to, call, people saying side call, but it is, you're either going to be looking at probably pair plus straight draw that's turning your hand into a bluff or a flush. So, I mean, you're getting over 2-1. If you think those scenarios, you think that pair plus flush draw or pair plus straight draw, shows up 1 out of 3 times, then so be it. Again, I will go back in terms of like logically thinking about this. I think the most important part of this, though, is the fact that he calls turn with a guy behind him. Like, I would be more apt to call here if it was heads up on turn. Like, you bet turn, he calls, river, you check, and he bets. I'd be more apt to call with any hand here. The fact that he called with that big blind behind him on the turn is troublesome to me.
Plus, with my image, I just thought that any pair plus straight draw is going to check back river. If he has any sort of like middling value hand, he's checking it back. So this is either a flush or, air, right? Like what is he bluffing with?
You think pair plus straight draw is checking back river?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, then how can you call then? How can you call the river then?
Me?
Yeah. I mean, I was saying that like the primary bluffs here for that you can pick off are pair plus straight draw. If you think that those hands, now I don't agree with you that necessarily that those hands are always checking back, but if you think those hands get checked back, I don't see how you can call. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right. I don't call. I fold.
Okay. Oh, okay. I thought for some reason you said you were going to call. Okay. I get you.
I folded. I didn't think he was bluffing with my image, and I thought something like 10 Jack or Jack 9 or like those hands would just check it back because they got some showdown value. So I folded.
Did you get a reveal?
I did. Uh-huh. I asked him to show me the bluff, and he accommodated me and showed 6 of diamonds, 7 of hearts.
6 of diamonds, 7 of hearts. So, wow, that is really out there. So he had middle pair and a gutter to an 8. Still had that, right? With a gutter to an 8, which is the ass end of it, right? Because if an 8 comes in, it's a jack. And he called with a guy behind him. I mean, you just chalk that up that guy's a bad player. No offense personally to him, but I mean, I would just mentally make a note like, wow, this guy's maybe a guy that I want to play with, Plus the fact he's trying to bluff you if you're, looking sort of, a little bit inebriated, right?
It was quite the surprise, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one. I don't think anyone's going to fault you for folding. Thank you very much for the call.